the restoration of our republic. We want to educate, encourage, enable the power. We stand for integrity, honesty, self-reliance, self-defense, and most importantly, no compromise on our foundational principles. This is America's Voice Now.
Find America's Voice Now on Facebook and at americasvoicenow.org. Here's Michael Evans.
Good morning, America. You're listening to America's Voice Now. My name is Michael Evans. I'll be your host this morning and every morning. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to join with us. We appreciate you. You know, our goal is to educate, inform, to motivate, and activate, to drive political change, to be self-reliant, self-sufficient, and make sure that we're doing what we can individually to restore and repair our republic before it slips away from us. In honor of that, I've asked a friend of ours to speak with us this morning about an area which is, I believe, critical to the success of our republic, or the restoration of our republic back into a constitutional framework. Eric Papp is an author. He's the author of Leadership by Choice, and he is an expert on leadership and its principles. And you may ask, well, why did I choose Eric for this morning's discussion? I'm going to tell you why. Because you hear me say over and over and over again with the mantra that our goals, each and every one of us has an obligation and a duty to be a leader, to step up to the plate and stop trying to follow the Obama concept of leading from behind. You must be a leader. You must be a leader in your family. You must be a leader in your home community. You need to be a leader in your church. You need to be a leader in your city, in your township, in your county. You need to be a leader in your state. You need to be a leader towards those people that you don't know. You need to gather a flock around you and be a leader. Because without leadership, we are rudderless. We're like the Titanic trying to turn ourselves with a spoon as a rudder. It is an absolute waste of our time. So I've asked Eric to join with us this morning because what I want him to instill in us and to provide for our listenership is the first steps to being a leader. In other words, what's the difference between starting out as just a guy who's got concerns, somebody who's interested, somebody who's upset, frustrated, and wants to make change? What's the difference between that person and a person who gets up off the couch, puts away the potato chips, and migrates from a leader in their own mind to a doer? What does it take to be a doer versus a follower? I'd like to invite or introduce you folks to Eric Papp. Eric is, as I'd mentioned, an author of a special book that really gears and talks about leadership by choice. Now, a lot of that is geared and developed towards the concept of industry. However, I think that most of the same leadership principles that apply, whether you're in business or whether you are in politics, are very, very similar, at least the primary focus of them. Good morning, Eric, and thanks for joining with us.
Hey, good morning, Michael. Thanks a lot for having me on your show.
I'm pleased to have you here.
Yeah, and there are those that say they can't do something because, and there are those that are the cause in the matter. You know, I can't do that because I have to do this, or I can't do that because I have a headache, or I can't do that because I don't have time, or those are the people, you know, that's one group of people. And then you have other people that say, hey, I'm going to be the cause in the matter. I'm going to make sure that happens, that gets accomplished, that gets done. So those are people that say because, and those people that take cause in the matter.
Well, I think, you know, part of our problem here, Eric, and this is not just endemic to our area, it's nationwide, is that we lack leadership. I mean, I've polled our audience. I've said to them, who today do you look at? Who's our George Washington? Who's our Thomas Jefferson? who's our James Madison? And if you look at the listing of the people that are currently out there in the political arena today, and even those who aren't necessarily in government roles but are considered leaders in the concept of politics, there's not one. There's not one person that I would say, I am willing to put my life on the line to back up their position, because they have no integrity. They have no honor. They're in it for the wrong reasons. Citizens, on the other hand, and we drive very hard here for citizen legislators to take an active role. And that doesn't necessarily mean you got to go to Washington. You can do it right in your own county and become a county commissioner. You can sit on the school board. You can make changes right at home. But it takes leadership and leadership principles. And that's one of the things that I want to help our folk understand is, what are the steps? What have you got to do to migrate yourself from an armchair general to a steed-mounted general?
Well, the first step, Michael, is the environment that you hang around in and the environment that you surround yourself with. And so take a look at that. As the listeners are listening today, take a look at your environment. Who do I talk to at work on my breaks? Who am I around? Who's influencing me? Am I around people that are complaining, that are whining all the time? Or am I around people that are motivated and they're taking actions toward a cause?
Right.
And then even also look at your personal life as well. Who do I associate with? My neighbors, my family, my friends. What type of folks are those? Because a lot of times we are a product of our environment, and that's something to really be mindful of. So that's the first step. Take a look at your environment. Then the second step then is really to make a conscious choice that, hey, I'm going to step up. I'm going to do something here. What's something I want to be a part of? What's some type of policy or what's some type of cause that really gets me going? Because when you have that, that'll get you out of bed. When you have that, you will find the time to make it happen. So one is look at the environment that you're in, and if you don't like it, change it. Hang around with people that are action takers, that are doers, that make things happen. And the second thing is start to see yourself as that leader, and then find the cause that really lights your fire.
One of the things that we talk about here, and I constantly speak with our audience about, is being a subject matter expert. Some people, and educating yourself about that subject so that you can discuss it in depth from any angle. So no matter what facet of the diamond you're looking at, you can talk intelligently about that particular aspect, and that your information is solid all the way through. And becoming everybody's got something different that they're interested in. Some people prefer and understand the concept of banking or money. Some people understand education. Some people understand the constitutional principles. Some people understand banking. You get the idea. Everybody's got a different area of interest for them. Some people just look at banking and it looks like Chinese math. They just don't get it. But then they look at education and they look at Common Core being plunged down our throats, and that to them strikes the chord. And so one of the things that I always encourage, which falls right in line with your second point here, is become a subject matter expert on whatever it is that floats your boat, whatever creates that spark in you. Become a subject matter expert so that whatever that topic is, you can be, you're looked at as the individual who has credibility, who has a solid foundational understanding of it, and can talk and speak about it. And then, again, to your first point, surround yourself with people who are motivated and who are not going to, deride and degrade and berate you for your ideas and your opinions, but instead will actually work together with you to try to achieve that. So I am fully in agreement with your first 2 points, and I think they're spot on in terms of the accuracy and their positioning, right? Because if you don't surround yourself with motivated people, even if you are a subject matter expert, nobody wants to listen to you.
That's right.
They just spin you and blow you off, right? You're just wearing a tinfoil hat this week, that kind of thing. So how is it that we can find and direct ourselves so that we are actually, finding the right people around us and educating ourselves about that? But then what's the next step? Once we've achieved and we are surrounded by people who are similarly situated in terms of our ideal and political philosophies and so forth, the next topic is the subject matter expert. Once we've achieved that, maybe you can talk with us after the break about our next steps. Because
Absolutely.
I think the greatest ideas, unless they're written down, are really nothing other than just dreams and fantasies in our minds, right?
That's right. I'll share two characteristics, two qualities that really can make this happen.
Excellent. Folks, we're going to take a quick break. We're speaking this morning with Eric Papp. You can find him on the web at ericpapp.com. That's P-A-P-P. There's 3 P's there. So it's ericpapp.com. We'll be back in just a moment. Stick with us.
If you're looking for great deals on iPads or Kindles, look no further than your neighborhood Radio Shack authorized sales center. They've got great deals on the latest iPads and Kindles. Maybe you need a new GPS or an MP3 player to get your music library ready for those barbecues. Whatever your electronic needs, stop by your local neighborhood Radio Shack authorized dealer in West Plains at 1408 Southern Hills Shopping Center or call 417-256-1819.
America's Voice Now, delivering truth over mainstream propaganda every single day. Hi, my name is Michael Evans, and I'm your host, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. and 8 p.m., and Saturday morning from 6 to 9 a.m. Join me daily for important guests and my unique slant on hot topics in the news. Visit americasvoicenow.org for even more news, articles, and commentary, and watch our show streaming live to your PC. Share your morning with me. Get educated, informed, motivated, and activated. America's Voice Now, right here on 107.1. All right, we're back. I thought, folks, that for the benefit of our discussion and our topic, on Saturday we talked about the fact that if groups out there today, like the Tea Party and the Libertarian and the Constitutional Party, are not actively seeking, looking for, interviewing, recruiting, and vetting new candidates for whatever phoenix rises from this ashes, we are in major trouble as a nation. And, we don't have a whole lot of time left. And the one thing that we have failed to do as patriots is create an alternative plan that will step into... there's going to be one of two phoenix rising from the ashes. It's either going to be liberty or it's going to be tyranny. And my position on this is that if we are not actively out there following and driving the right leaders and have them prepared and waiting in the wings, when this thing blows up economically, politically, militarily, pick your catalyst, we're done. And we don't have a plan of secession, or succession, I should say. And so what ends up happening is, by default, the tyrants win. And one of the reasons I wanted Eric to speak with us is because he's created a YouTube video, which I'd like you folks to get a hold of. You can find that by going to a website called reboundrebuild.com. Now, the concept, did I get that right, Eric?
That's correct.
Okay. Rebound, rebuild. The concept is, and Eric references this as the Republican Party, having a shift, change, if you will, from their positioning of where they're at. But I have to say, I don't think the Republicans or the Democrats are in a position of leadership. Both of them are leading, but they're leading for the wrong team. And I'm an advocate, Eric, of finding alternative citizen legislators who will step in, do their civic duty, and then go back to being whatever they were, the candle maker, the cook, the shoemaker, the Indian chief, the store owner, whatever it was they did before. Part of what's ruined us in politics is money. And when people think, well, I could be a senator and I can make $195,000 a year and everything else is on the House and get a House seat and it's $175,000 a year and I can make a career out of this. Well,
right. It changed from public service to then being a career.
Right. And they call themselves civil servants, but I have to tell you, the only thing that's being served up is us.
Civil servants only when it's election time.
Right, exactly. In fact, the only time they ever want to hear from you is when they need your vote. The rest of the time, they treat us as if we've got a whole lot of nerve, even like they tolerate us, And so when we get to the point where we have surrounded ourselves with motivated folk, when we get to the point where we are a subject matter expert on our particular area of interest, What's the next step? What do we do next to say, I can take this to the next level. I can push this forward. I can, make my impact.
I want folks that are listening right now, Michael, to take action. Don't even wait to become an expert in, let's say, energy consumption, or don't wait to become an expert in foreign policy.
Thank you, by the way. I'm going to mail you $1 for saying that, because, folks, I didn't ask him to say that, but I have to tell you, that's exactly what we're talking about here. You don't have to wait until you're completely prepared for the game to jump in. Forget the uniform. Forget whether or not you got enough ammo. Just get in there and start fighting.
That's right. And what you just said, getting in the game, is so important, because so many people, so many Americans are just sitting on the sidelines, and they're just in their head. They're having a dialogue in their head. And no life goes on in your head. It's all out in front of you. It's all out in the open. So get in the game, get in life, and start today. Get on people's websites, make a phone call, go to a meeting, call up somebody else. Start to make things happen. Start to work towards what you want to work towards. Start to develop on that. Start to read some more books. Start to go to some lectures. Start to talk to people. Start to have an open opinion about certain aspects. Start to think creatively in terms of creating new possibilities for what we're up against. And that's really going to have it as far as be the movement, as far as to really rebound and rebuild into the nation that we know we can get back to.
I'm so desperately concerned for our nation right now, because I feel like we are in the last dying throes of liberty and freedom in our nation. And what we see happening around us every day, that the tidal wave of abuse that's coming at us, and misuse and malfeasance and cronyism and betrayal and treason, quite frankly, that's coming at us every day this isn't limited just to our federal government. Our states are complicit. Our school boards are complicit by shoving Common Core down our throat. Everywhere that we turn, government has turned into our worst enemy. Instead of being our protector, instead of being our defender and interceding on our behalf to provide so that everyone has an equal opportunity and the individual's rights, who's the smallest of all minorities, is protected, they've become our master and we the slave. And it's so important for us to individually and collectively to be able to, but I don't believe that leaders are born. I believe that there are certain characteristics it takes to be one, but I think there's a lot of folks out there who have the right characteristics but don't know the steps to take to migrate from being an armchair general who is out there, trying to lead a group of phantasms that don't exist, to someone who is actively and actually taking a leadership role and guiding and directing others who are really looking for direction and leadership. People want they want someone that they can follow. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, people want to be held accountable. They want to be held accountable, and they want to, have something greater than themselves. That's why people, that's why you see sports teams in America are so popular, because, I can go, a lot of people, they can, leave their worries, their cares behind of the week, and they can go in a stadium with, 80,000 of other strangers and just cheer for a sports team, of a pigskin getting thrown around, of grown men playing a game when we were kids. So, because we want to buy and we want to believe into something, we want to be a cause of something that's bigger than ourselves. So, it's important for people, hey, even if you don't have that cause yet, just be on the search for it. And then once you get it, that's your reasoning. That's your that's your why. That's why you get out of bed every morning. That's why also why anyone should care, is because that you do have a cause. You're working towards something. Like, for example, my why is to empower millions of people daily. And that's it. That's why I get up in the morning, because Tom Jones or Joe, John Doe, somebody that I don't even know, something that I might say, something I might, he might read a book, or he might be on the website, or he might, read one of my columns or whatever, and be inspired to take action, have that sense of empowerment. And there's a difference, in our country, in terms of entitlement versus empowerment. And sometimes that gets blurry for some folks.
What is the difference between entitlement and empowerment? Help us just understand the separation between those two ideas, because I think it's confusing to some folks.
Yeah. Well, the best way to look at it is, when you have friends, you have coworkers, you have children, they come to you and they want something. Okay, you know, are we just giving something out, you know, and then where does it leave that person later on? You know, it kind of goes back to, you know, you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day, you teach him how to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. And also, you notice the difference as well as an entitled person when they run up against an obstacle, a challenge, or something that they haven't seen before, then they come faced with, you know, oh man, they deflect the responsibility. Oh, it's not my fault. Let me just put it back on my boss. Let me just shift it over here to my family member. You know, oh, it's not my fault because of a family situation. You know, they deflect the responsibility.
Well, it sounds like we have 535 of those in Congress right now. And not to mention Eric Holder. I mean, and Obama and the guy from Mueller from the FBI and all these IRS people. All of them are sitting around saying, I didn't know. I have no idea. I have no clue. I read about it in the papers like you. That's exactly what we're talking about. Those people.
Yeah. I mean, how great would it be, Michael? Like if we just saw somebody that said, you know what, that was me. That was me, and it was, you know, it was a wrong decision. Yeah, and I was wrong.
Or guess what? I think I'm right, and I don't care what you think. I mean, people would even respect that.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly.
I mean, this whole thing about Benghazi. Here's a perfect example, right? All they had to do was come out and say, you know what? We made a serious series of miscalculations and mistakes that ended and resulted in the lives of 4 Americans lost. We are deeply sorry for that as a nation and as a leadership group. And we will never let it happen again. And most of Americans would have said, you know what, everybody makes a mistake, and I grant you this was you know, terrible, but it happens in a war. But instead, they tried to deflect and cover, and nobody respects that.
Right, and I think that's why too, Michael. We live everything that we do is under a microscope. I mean, with Facebook, with Twitter, with all these social media outlets, and I mean, like when Romney, like during the campaign, you know, the other 49%, when you make a comment, it just gets thrown out of proportion. So it's like people are so worried about looking good and about saying the right thing that they don't do the right thing.
They forget the meaning of the message, right?
And that's what, it's a shame, you know, that happens, because I do believe that there are people wanting to do the right thing, but then they're so clouded in judgment, you know, to see, oh, I hope this looks good, or I hope this lands well, as opposed to, you know what, however it does, it does. I know in my heart of hearts that this is what's right.
Let's just let the chips fall where they may, right?
Right. And at the end of the day, I'll respect myself more.
How can folks, and I mean, you know, we're talking about in our area here, this is a very agricultural, rural area. We've got a lot of folks that are, you know, that don't have a whole lot of influence, of political influence. How can they make a difference day in and day out? In other words, you know, whether it's even just starting out with the congregation at your church and saying to your pastor, you know, Wednesday night I want to hold a meeting and I want to talk about some things that are on my heart. Or whether it's, you know, starting at a small group at work that just has some open and clear discussions about what's going on in our world, and helping to awaken and open up other eyes. Because I have to say, I think we're, you know, some of us are so caught up in our daily lives that we don't know where. I think we miss the opportunity to see what an impact we can have. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. You know, and looking at it from a standpoint is about making a difference is just, you know, the word contribution. You know, looking where I can contribute. You know, where can I contribute to building a stronger America? Where can I contribute to building a stronger economy? Okay, you know, I've seen that the financial, you know, area, okay, the literacy and financially, you know, it's not being taught well to young people. Okay, I can step up and I can lead a program for financial empowerment for young people in the community, you know, and so that way when they get out there, they're not going to, you know, make the same mistakes as Congress did in terms of, you know, paying off debt and such.
Sure.
Okay, that's how I can step up, you know, or somebody else might say, you know, hey, I can step up, you know, in terms of developing a program, you know, a reading program, okay, or I can step up over here and really, you know, maybe really get both sides to come to agreement, because maybe we got some county commissioners, you know, one's on the left, one's on the right, and they're just not talking, they're not communicating, and as taxpayers, we are bearing the burden of that, you know, of
Sure.
that lack of communication. So, you know, there's a million ways you can just I encourage people to look at the words contribution, where you can be a contribution, and then become creative. You know, get creative with how you want to contribute.
You know, sometimes, and you know, I think people always think, well, I can't make a difference on one person, you know. But I disagree with that theory, and I'll tell you, I use this analogy from time to time. You know, somebody got a hold, and you can forget all the ancillary aspects around it, but somewhere somebody got a hold of a kid named Billy. And they brought him to a position where his belief and his convictions in his belief were so strong that he affected literally hundreds of millions of lives. His name was Billy Graham.
Billy Graham.
And I don't care whether or not you believe in Christianity or you're a Jew or a Buddhist or you're nothing at all, an atheist. The simple truth is somebody got a hold of that kid and made a difference in his life. And from that point forward, he really, we have no idea what follows after us, how it gets paid forward. So maybe you could share with us a little bit on the return break. Folks, we'll be back in just a second.
Fox News Radio, I'm Sal Giangrasso. President Obama is in Ireland for the G8 summit.
The two-day gathering is expected to be dominated by discussions about the fighting in Syria. Later on today, President Obama meets with Russia's president, the Syrian government's main ally. The summit is also expected to focus on global economic issues.
Covering the president's trip, Fox Radio's Simon Owen in Sligo, Ireland. No more leaks. The plea from the father of Edward Snowden, who leaked information about NSA surveillance programs.
But Lon Snowden also said there's a balance between freedom and security.
If we say, oh my gosh, we're going to have to sacrifice our freedoms because of the threat of terrorism, well, the terrorists have already won.
Snowden says he hopes his son eventually returns to the United States.
Fox Radio's Rich Johnson, Snowden's senior, says it's better to be in an American jail than being on the run overseas. Fox News. We report, you decide.
Get a hold of Brian down at Ozark Mountain Self-Reliance. You can call him at 870-492-4030, or you can find him on the web at ozarkmtnselfreliance.com. Located a half-mile east of Walmart on Route 62 in Mountain Home. My friends over at Chantilly's Artisan Bakery at 255-2253, number 2 Evans Arcade off the square in West Plains. Best damn bakery in 100 miles. You can reach Mary at 255-2253. My friend Bill Stone over at Stone Construction at 293-0116. Whether remodeling or doing new or custom construction or light commercial, Bill's the guy for you. 293-0116. West Plains Pawn and Gun, located on Route 160, just about a mile east of Walmart on the right-hand side. WestPlainsPawn.com. You can also reach them by a telephone at 417-256-3000. Friends over at the battery station at 303 Washington Avenue, right off the square in West Plains. You can find them on the web at batterystation.com, and you can call them at 417-257-7799. Also, don't forget to stop by Pizza Hut for an outstanding lunch special between 11 and 2. Salad and pasta all together. You can also visit them on Tuesday evenings for family night. Kids eat free under 12. And Jason over at Wits End Classic Barbershop, the sponsor of our telephone line. Make sure that you see Wits End Classic Barbershop for your next shave and a haircut. Outstanding, fine young man, and a great patriot as well. He's on the square in West Plains.
The Battery Station in West Plains is your headquarters for getting and being prepared. Natural disasters, civil unrest, personal and family protection, long-term sustenance, and most importantly, peace of mind. Berkey bottles and home-sized water purification systems, survival food, MREs, freeze-dried food, survival knives, lanterns, ammunition, military sleep system, and of course, batteries of all shapes and sizes. Take charge of your own survival and security. The Battery Station, 303 Washington in West Plains, 417-257-7799 or batterystation.com.
Weather sponsorships are now available on News Talk 107.1 The Point. Get more information, email info@diamondmediaradio.com for complete details.
From the Point Weather Center, we'll have mostly cloudy skies this morning with showers and thunderstorms around. They'll continue into the evening hours. Some of those could be heavy, potentially severe. The high 82, clearing later tonight, low 64. Plenty of sunshine tomorrow, high 86, sunny skies Wednesday. I'm staff meteorologist Jim Minaldi, and for more information, visit my1071thepoint.com.
At Missouri State University West Plains, students are finding new beginnings and endless possibilities.
Hi, I'm Anna Cantrell, and I'm a student at Missouri State West Plains. This university has amazing faculty and staff, and because of the A+ program, I'm going to be able to graduate debt-free. I couldn't be happier with my choice.
Call Missouri State West Plains today to find out how we can help you achieve your educational goals. Registration is going on now, 255-7255, or check us out on the web, wp.missouristate.edu.
I was talking with Eric off the air for a moment, and we while the commercial break was on, and we were talking a little bit about what it takes to be a community leader, and I had to say to him, I had to interrupt and say, I hate to use the term community leader because it's got such a bad taste in everybody's mouth these days. But that, I think, Eric, is one of the areas where people can make the most impact. The everyday Joe who can actually step up and be a leader of a community effort, whatever that may be, whether that's, just gathering a group of people around who you can list their skills and talents and say, hey, this is a group who's available. So when Mrs. Smith has a problem with her roof, they can, the neighbors can get together and help her put another one on because she's 75 years old and infirm and on a fixed income. Or
absolutely,
all the way up to, helping. I mean, one of the reasons we have a bill that is just passed the Senate for $855 billion for a farm bill. 80% of that is for food stamps. I mean, that's insane. We're talking about a $700 billion dump of food stamps, which, quite honestly, is going to – that's the equivalent of the bank bailout, right? And, I mean, a lot of that is going to go to the hapless, not the true helpless. I'm okay with helping the helpless, but the hapless is something altogether again, right? And, if you're willfully sitting there, at home and you've migrated off unemployment after 2.5 years and now you applied for disability, you're the hapless. And I think that part of the problem that we have with government today is that there's not enough community effort and involvement to help those folks who really, truly need help. And so everybody jumps on the dependency bandwagon. What I'd like our people to be able to do is to break away from that and step away from that and say, we can do that ourselves right here at home. That's the way it was always done up until the Great Society of the 60s anyway. Right? I mean, am I correct here, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's right, and that goes back to something that I was saying earlier, Michael. Is just that people's, that there's people that say, oh, we can't do that because we don't have enough money, or we can't do that because we don't have enough support. And there's other people that said, hey, we're going to make the cause in making that happen. We're going to be the cause in making that happen. We're going to be the cause in getting everybody together, to build that, add-on, or we're going to help get everybody together to be the cause when one neighbor, is not able to make something happen. We're going to really all chip in and support that person.
Sure.
So,
and
right.
I think that's not only something that's community oriented in terms of civilian residential type things, but it can also be a business role where individuals within different segments of industry get together and say, hey, I'm a leader in this industry, and I'm going to compile a group of what I see as other dedicated or informed or educated individuals who are going to enable me to direct their efforts and activities and focus towards a problem that we see, and utilize that same principle not only for everyday folks but also for industry, right? So if you've got somebody who's a specialist in metals, or somebody who's a specialist in telecommunications or banking or whatever the case may be, it doesn't really matter what it is. The point is that they can then, build a circle of support and knowledge, broad knowledge, by building leadership within a small coalition, if you will, of industry people or business people, and achieve the same thing but on a commercial level, if you get my drift.
Right. Bringing people with a common vision together and then just taking action daily and just keeping in mind that it's progress, not perfection.
Bingo. Thank you. That is the truth, because I think everybody's waiting for the perfect opportunity, and that never arrives.
Right, or we're just trying to get it right all the time. Well, we're not going to get it all right all the time. I mean, failure is a part of it, but just realize, look at it as just failure is just a means, a form of feedback that you didn't meet your stated objective. Okay, so if you know that, then just change the next course of action that you're going to take.
I think motivation, self-motivation, is a big problem right now, because apathy is endemic and systemic in our society. How do people step aside from that? How do they wake up in the morning and give themselves that good swift kick in the rear end and say, today I'm going to do it, even though the results may seem nebulous or non-existent? Or how do they do that? Yeah,
that goes back, Michael, to something I said earlier in terms of getting connected with the why in life. Why do you do what you do? Why do you go to work? Why do you go to that job? Why? Why should anyone care? Why should anyone care why you get up in the morning?
Well, isn't most of America just looking at it like, I'm just here because I got to pay the bills? I mean, when we're talking about
That's not. Yeah, that doesn't get you too motivated. You know?
No, and when we're talking about leadership, I think the goal of that is to have a real solid conversation with yourself about what really are my motives for this, right? Because if your motive to be a leader is ego or personal benefit or self-aggrandizement or money, you're just more of what we're trying to get rid of. I mean,
right.
It's got to be something that is, you're willing to sacrifice for and put forward that. But I think the motivation part of it, of getting up every day and saying, I'm going to pick up the telephone and or I'm going to meet together with a group of people on a Tuesday night when I've been working all day and I'm just damn tired. That's the part of the problem, How do we drive that motivation factor internally? How do we force ourselves to say, I'm going to do it? It's kind of like going to the gym,
Yeah, and just like you said, it starts. It starts with a thought, and then you take action on it. And one of the, there's a lot of ways that you can do it in the morning. One of the ways that I find myself is sometimes when I get up with it could have been I just took 2 flights and I had about 5 hours of sleep, and then I've got to present all day, or maybe just do a keynote. But I'll still wake up in the morning, and I'll start to just tell myself, man, I feel terrific. I feel terrific. I have a lot of energy. I have a lot. I'll just start to really psych myself up through the language that I use, because if that doesn't, I just got to get myself going, because nothing else will. Around me, nobody else is going to do it. And then eventually, I start to even feel better. I start to change my, my physical state. And
it's kind of like going to the gym. I hate to draw that analogy back, but after you've worked out, you're like, man, I'm glad I did that.
Yeah, that's right. Because just it's like you want to have that. That's like your mental shot of motivation. Because people we live in a society, Michael. We're just so caffeine driven. You can't go to the store and you see like 24-hour energy. Here's 5-hour energy. Here's 2-hour energy. Here's this shot of this.
Here's Monster energy.
Yeah, here's Monster. Here's Monster with no sugar. It's like, are you kidding me? What did we do 20 years ago? As far as to have that.
Right.
And it's incredible. So I'm a big tea drinker. I drink teas all the time. But and I'm not saying that's wrong or anything that's bad, but at the same time, too, we can do that with our words, we can do that with our thoughts, and we can do that with our actions, get ourselves psyched up and get ourselves motivated, and just not what we drink.
Sure. Well, I have to tell you, I'm impressed with your approach to it, and the fact that this is something that you do for a living, and I applaud that. Your leadership by choice is a shot in the arm for folks who know they want to do something but don't really know how, and I get it that it's a lot of that is driven towards business, but I think those same principles apply. I had a book years ago by a guy who was a Navy SEAL who wrote a book for business management, and he said the same deals apply whether you're going to war, in a jungle, or whether you're going to war in a boardroom, right? And, when you're a leader, your people are counting on you. They're looking for you for ideas and leadership, and they're also looking for you to take those ideas and run with them and feed them, the good ones, but not destroy. If you don't like one, you don't destroy the person. You just push the idea back a little bit,
Right. And speaking with that, Michael, this is something that our folks can take action right away. And I learned this from a Navy SEAL. And this would be something that the folks listening right now, this will help them be motivated to take action, is when you get up in the morning, before you go in the bathroom, before you do anything else, get something to eat, is make your bed. Make your bed. If you can do that consistently for 7-8 days, you'll start to see some shifts, some change in your life, because it starts the day with discipline and action.
Isn't that a funny little thing?
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right, though. When you have that little order that starts your day, that does make a difference in your world. You feel like you've started out orderly.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
there's some like path, if you will. So great idea. Thank you for sharing that with us. And I think it's something our listeners can do. So, hey, well, listen, I want to thank you very much. And I know you've got a busy schedule today. I kind of threw your schedule into a loop by bringing you on earlier than the 8:15 hour. But I want to thank you very much. Eric can be reached, folks, by going to Eric Papp. That's P-A-P-P, like Papa Alpha Papa Papa, .com. EricPapp.com. You can also find a video from him on YouTube called Rebound and Rebuild, armchair.com, and that will take you straight to a YouTube video where he's kind of put together a message for the Republicans related to the presidential election of 2012. Obviously, they failed to listen to you, Eric.
Yeah. That my whole thing was, if you don't have a message that the people can buy into and believe in, then you have no message. Because obviously the message in 2008 was hope and change.
Right. And boy, look at what we got. Hopelessness and zero. Well, all change, but all in the wrong direction, right?
We got the change, but maybe it was just what people had in mind.
Exactly. And that's part of it, too, is I think people need to critically think and analyze and listen between the lines, right? So when you're hearing things like that from your opposition, take it seriously, because that's exactly how they mean it. So, listen, thank you very much for joining with us. I appreciate it very much.
Hey, Michael, it's my pleasure.
And can folks find your book on your website?
Absolutely. They can find Leadership by Choice on the site, or they can go to Amazon or any major retailer, iPad, Kindle, Audible.com. They'll all have that Leadership by Choice.
Outstanding. I'll post some stuff up on our Facebook and YouTube channel as well. Thank you so much.
Oh, wonderful. Thanks, Michael.
Have a great day.
Godspeed.
The Government Accountability Institute has conducted an analysis of how much time this president has spent in economic meetings of any kind. For instance, how much time has he spent golfing compared to economic meetings?
Between golf and vacation, he's at 976 hours.
That's only more than double the time of what he spent on the economy.
But he won't rest
until people have jobs and this economy is rolling again.
This is the Glenn Beck Program.
Weekdays from 2 to 5, it's Glenn Beck on the Ozarks' Best News Talk 107.1.
I saw a penguin fly out of a U.S. Cellular store with a new Samsung Galaxy smartphone. Sounds crazy, but U.S. Cellular's offering $100 off a new Samsung Galaxy phone. If that's crazy, I'm a loon.
Switch to U.S. Cellular and say hello to the Galaxy S4 for only $99.99 or the Samsung Galaxy S3 for free. U.S. Cellular. Hello better. After $100 mail-in rebate that comes as a MasterCard debit card, applicable data plan required, new 2-year agreement, $35 device activation fee may apply. Certain restrictions apply. See store for details.
Hi, it's Hugh Hewitt on the next Hugh Hewitt Show. Mark Stein, James Lilacs, the regular Thursday gang. Only the hosts are different. My vacation guest hosts, Guy P. Benson, Mary Catherine Ham, continue to hold forth on all the news of the day, but they do so with calmness, the world Stein, and none other than Lilacs. Do not miss a minute of the next Hugh Hewitt Show.
Sundays from 6 till 7, following Money Talk with Bob Brinker, it's the Weekend Journal with Hugh Hewitt on the Ozarks' Best News Talk 107.1.
Kim Commando, a.k.a. the Digital Goddess, keeps you plugged in with a daily feature. Kim Commando's Digital Minute. This segment keeps you informed with what's going on in the technology world, along with new tips and tricks to use at home to improve those computer skills. Catch Commando at 7:22 a.m. during Cooper & Company on the Ozarks' Best News Talk. If the feature has you craving more, join Kim, the Digital Goddess, Saturdays from noon to 3 on the Ozarks' Best News Talk, 107.1 The Point.
All right, folks, we're back. I wanted Eric to help us understand, and I'm going to open our phone lines now. You can call us on the Wits End Classic Barbershop hotline if you'd like to comment on Eric's ideas there. Our phone numbers are 257-1111 and 866-554-6636 if you need to call us toll free. I want our listeners to be leaders in the forefront of our patriotic duty and our obligations to preserve and restore and save our nation. And I think that each of you have an opportunity and the skill set, whatever that may be, to be that leader. And it's important that you are, driving the right behavior within yourself, first and foremost, and two, knowing what skill sets you need to accomplish that. And I gotta tell you, I said it during the interview. The same skill sets that apply to leadership in business apply to leadership in politics as well. People are people. And never be afraid to be a leader, because leadership is done by choice. And that's the title of Eric's book, Leadership by Choice. You choose to be a leader, or you choose to be ineffectual. Go ahead, caller. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, that book you were talking about, that wasn't by Richard Marchenko by any chance?
What, Leadership by Choice?
Yeah.
No, that's
Eric. No,
Oh.
the SEAL.
What was his name?
Richard Marchenko. He wrote a book, Red Sail, and then he wrote a series of fiction books, and then the one about business management.
A friend of mine gave it to me as a present, and my son is in the military, as you know, in Afghanistan. And I gave it to him because I wanted him to read it while he was overseas on this tour. So I don't actually have it back with me now, and I'll be honest, I cannot remember the author's name.
I believe it was Richard Marchenko.
But it was one of our listeners who it will remain nameless for just privacy's sake, gave me that book as a gift. And I read it thoroughly, and I was so impressed with it. My son was saying to me, Dad, they're trying to ask me to step up to the plate in a more leadership-oriented role here. And I said, great, I got the right book for you. And I handed it to him because it was applicable in both of his arenas, both the military side and the business and politics side of being in business. And so when he comes back, he'll bring it back to me, and I'll read it again, actually. But, it's so important that we are actually taking daily steps to drive ourselves. We cannot be leaders from behind. We see the result of that. It's not effective. And at this point, this is kind of like all hands on deck, battle stations, because our country's coming apart at the seams. And we need people to step up and be local and be regional and be national leaders. And frankly, I don't see them out there. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of them that will arise, and rise to the top like cream. But where are they now when we need them?
I agree. You'd read a poem a while back about that, about the patriot being a lonely individual, deviled and held in ill repute until they were needed.
That was actually a Mark. Go ahead. That was a Mark Twain quote, and I'll read it to you again. In the beginning of a change, the patriot is a scarce man, brave, hated, and scorned. When his cause succeeds, the timid join him, for then it costs nothing to be a patriot.
Exactly right. I think that says a lot about leadership right there.
It sure does. Hey, thank you for that call. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Go ahead, caller. Welcome to the show.
Just a testimony here, which I don't usually give. You know the bit about making your bed in the morning?
Yes, ma'am.
I've been doing that since I was a little girl, and it works. It works. And I keep trying to get people to do that. In my household, it works.
I get it. And, it's that little thing that is that order that, because people do need order, right? We can't live in chaos. The human animal wants some level of order. I mean, we don't want it. We don't want restriction. We don't want to be told what to do. But we do know, as a biological entity, we need order. And I fully agree with that principle. That's one of the best things that you can do, even if it's only just your side of the bed. Right?
Well, yes. Yeah. But no, it does work, and I'm kind of slack on it now, and I have to go back to it.
There you go. Thank you so much. And by the way, folks, here's a perfect example. Susan, and I'm going to hold you. I'm going to hold you out now for a minute.
Not again.
No, I'm telling you, you are a person who I admire because you have done exactly what we're talking about here. You went from, watching and observing what's going on around you to actually diving into it and making a change in it. And that is exactly what we're talking about. You have exemplified that which I'm trying to help and encourage our other listeners to do, which is get in there and make a difference. Even if it's, when I taught tactical shooting, it was shoot and move, because if you stand here long enough, you will be dead. You're a target. So shoot and move. Even if you don't know what direction you're moving, move, because if you stand still long enough, you'll become a target.
Probably.
So, in this instance, you've accomplished that. You've taken one area. I know you're strong into the education thing, and that's exactly our point. Surround yourself with an educate and inform yourself, which you've taken the time to do, and then you've stepped up to the plate and put that education out there by informing other people, and then driving change and motivating and activating yourself and others around you. And I applaud you for it.
I haven't motivated anybody yet.
Yes, you have. You don't even know it. You don't know how many people have come up to me and said, "Boy, that Susan is just a go-getter. She's a ball of energy." So don't dismiss that and the impact that you have. I promise you that you are making an impact, and you don't even know it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, sweetie. You know, people, it is not, if you're in this because you want to see the impact you make, forget it. That's the wrong motive. You are in this to make an impact that will have lasting value, and forget who learns it, how long it lasts, whether that's fleeting or whether it's lifelong. Here's the problem. We need leaders. We need brave men and women. We need scarce men and women. We need those who are willing to be hated and scorned. We need those who are willing to stand up for the right thing, belief and their courage and courage in their convictions, and be willing to stand in the face of the demagoguing and the scorn that will be thrown upon you. I promise you, it's not there's no thanks in this job. There's no thanks in it. At some point, what you will recognize is that you are making a difference, and that's all the thanks you need. You don't need somebody to walk up and say, "Wow, I really, you motivated me to get out there and join the school board," or "You motivated me to go out there and talk with some." That day may never come. Don't count on it. Don't bank on it. Don't even hope and pray for it. Just hope that everybody that you come in contact with, every touch you make, has impact, has a connection, has value, and that you are leading by example, not by words. A dear friend of mine has an email that she sends to me, and at the bottom of every one it says, "Preach the gospel at all times, and sometimes use words." Because leadership by example and your faith expressed by example carries far more weight than all the dogma you can throw at people verbally. Nobody wants to hear that. But when they look at a person, and we're just speaking religiously for a moment, if you watch a person and that person has a strong religious conviction and they live their conviction, you admire them for it. You respect them for it. You may not even agree with them, but you like who they are, and you believe that they believe, and that they're not hypocritical about it. The same applies in every other aspect of our lives. Just because it's religion doesn't make it any different. If you live and breathe the patriotic strength and the principles that made this country great, you will affect those around you. You may be scorned, you may be hated, but hey, in the end, you're not doing it for those people anyway. Go ahead, caller. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. I got a question. I don't know if you've mentioned it or not yet. Who's the 70 Republicans that voted no on the immigration deal? Because I would like to call them and thank them.
I actually don't have the list, but I can ask somebody in our group here to send it to me, and we'll post it up on Facebook and on our website. There is a list of 70 of them out there. I know it. I just don't have it right in front of me. But you're absolutely right. Those are the people who are the patriots right now, who are the scarce man, the brave, the hated, and the scorned, right? And if that cause succeeds, then everybody else will jump on the bandwagon, because at that point it costs nothing to say, "Yeah, me too."
Well, John Boehner has threatened to come out against him, and I'm going to find his number and tell him that he is not for the American people. He's for himself, because I don't like him. I don't even know why they put him in as a hit.
I won't disagree with you there, but
why? Because he's been there for 18 years.
Well, I won't disagree with you there, but here's the deal, folks. Let's wrap thank you very much for that call, by the way. Let's wrap our show up this way. If you are willing to stand up and be a leader, you will be a scarce man or woman. You will be brave, you will be hated, and you will be scorned. But in the end, when your cause succeeds and the timid join you, you'll know that you've made a difference. I'm telling you, folks, it's up to us to take a leadership role. No one else is going to do it for us. You're listening to America's Voice Now. Thank you for spending your time with us. You can find us on the web at americasvoicenow.org, and you can find this show at youtube.com/America's Voice.
West Plains, Missouri, it's KBMV Birch Tree, the Ozarks' best news talk.